Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Rivalz Race Chat. Clinton and Adam here as we are weekly to talk about our favorite sport, racing, which is getting closer than we ever thought. Adam, it seems like week after week it just tends to fly up on us. And here we are.
It is getting closer. I mean, the rules meetings at Ashwaubenon this weekend, so that's one sign things are getting closer. Sunday afternoon, NASCAR races. Big news on a Monday, penalty reports on a Tuesday from NASCAR. I mean, that's how you know the season is coming. It's almost time to go.
Yeah, today we're going to welcome Andy Jankowiak to the program and Steve Shaw Jr., or Senior, I should say. Steve Shaw Sr. going to join us from the West, the Chatham area, to talk about, the Thunderstock news that came out this weekend about the Thunderstock Nationals, what that means for them. Maybe he's got some news on what's happening down the Chatham way with Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, formerly South Buxton, and what he's hearing from the rumor mill down there. Of course, Andy Jankowiak has been a journeyman racer, done a lot of different things over the years, and worked his way back to now he's in the ARCA series. So we're going to invite Andy J on to talk about that. Does still some indoor racing, even raced at Ransomville. He was another one of those guys.
Oh, wait a second.
Drove the Hawk Dirt.
He took his TQ midget to Florida. He won in Florida with the midget, then went over to the super speedway to have a go with his 73 car.
Yeah, I want to talk to Andy about that Daytona race because I was there, and him and Steve Lewis Jr. were probably part of the reason we stayed so late on that night to watch because, we kind of know these dudes. So he looked like he was hanging back, and at the end he was in it. So we'll talk to Andy about that when he comes on and lots of other things. What a wild finish at Atlanta on Sundays. You mentioned the opener here, Adam. We'll discuss that a little bit. Joey Logano got busted with some gloves, so that's an issue we want to talk about too. Of course, Thunderstock Nationals, Ashwaubenon meetings, Want to mention the Celebration of Life for Pete Shepard. We'll talk a bit about that. Excuse me, of course, Motorama coming up quickly. So, as we get into that, where do you want to start, Adam? What's on your mind today to get us rolling?
You know what? I want to start out with Rob Twitchett, always commenting. He's here just about every week when we're doing shows. Rob just lost his dad on the weekend, so Rob, condolences. We hope you're hanging in there. Thank you for hanging out with us here tonight. And I've been where you're at, buddy, so reach out if you need anything.
For sure.
That's where I'd like to start.
Hopefully we can be a bit of a distraction for those types of situations. So,
Exactly.
Speaking meetings, yesterday, Adam, was wait for Andy to jump on. I've just sent a message, jump on with us anytime. So with Andy on standby here, our speaking meetings, I thought they went really well. For me, as the promoter guy, you can always, it could go two ways. They can either be with you or against you. I joked going home. I said, well, I sparred all week by myself expecting to fight, and nobody jumped out and wanted to fight. So that means one or two things, where they're on the right path or everybody just doesn't want to be the one who speaks up. So hopefully it's more of the first option. But, I thought some of the issues we would be fighting about, like a new situation for the 360s, for their redraw situation, I thought that would turn to a battle, but it looks like everybody's a bit ready for a slight change. Instead of a redraw, we'll be basing it off your time trial times a little bit. So we'll delve into that a little bit later as we get closer to it.
I thought people did a good job of expressing their opinions or their concerns without it being a real head-butting battle. So it shows a lot of maturity by the racers and the race teams, or it shows that they know they can't fight City Hall. But I don't think that's the case, Clinton, because things do get changed from time to time.
Yeah, I think at those meetings, as much as we try not to swing too many things, what does happen changes race night procedures. It's our chance to give the drivers a real voice to say, hey, we like this, we don't like this. I mean, at this meeting last year, I proposed the double foul restarts with the choose cone. Now, we had always been a cone place, single foul to the cone. And I kind of took that one on the chin. I said, all right, for the first year, we're doing it. And if anybody gets wrecked, you can bitch me out because I'm going to stand behind it. And thankfully, it worked out successfully. Now, if y'all get wrecked on opening night of year number 2, not my problem. It's just been procedure and history. So I'm not taking that. But we got through the first year okay. But, no, I think, all in all. So, not a lot of changes to Thunder stocks or mini stocks there in the ODCC rule package through 2026. Of course, that's strong. That's how we can build things like the Thunder Stock Nationals. And then, the crate sprints, as we talked to the teams and reminded them, as much as we may want to make a bunch of changes, which we don't, but if the time comes, we also be conscious that we also have sister tracks that have bought into this package and are developing rules along the same way. So we can't just, piss in the wind at Cornwall and Brockville and make changes, expect all of them to follow. So we kind of have to be very careful with the brush we carry at that point. In the 360s, the big news there is, we're really aligning ourselves. Used to be ASCS, but they've kind of gone off the map a little bit. It seems to be that, the Knoxville rule package is the best way to go. So we're going to align ourselves with Knoxville's 360 package as best we can. And excited to get back to it.
I love that.
It's just
not that anyone.
Talk about that, Adam.
Not that anyone cares, but I think when you've got a product that you can stand behind, you're as confident in your race teams as you are, you can go to the mecca of that sport. And Knoxville is, let's not make any mistake, that's the measuring stick, or that is the pinnacle of sprint car racing. So if you're going to use a format, borrow one from the best there is in Knoxville, and I think people they can complain, but they really don't have much of a leg to stand on.
Well, as we bring in the other sanctioning bodies, like, the Great Lakes Super Sprints, the Empire Super Sprints, the SOS, our guys, we need to make sure we're all in the same package. Let's jump in with Andy Jankowiak now. He's taking time out of his night to join us. We appreciate him coming on. Andy, welcome to the program, sir. We appreciate your time. I mean, who knows what kind of race car you could possibly be working on, because we've seen you take everything from, as I was thinking about you today, I think on social media, I've seen you take a bag of shit, weld it together overnight, drive 15 hours, and kick everybody's ass. And then we see you at the Mecca of Daytona with the nicest car you could ever imagine and tearing that up in a matter of about 2 hours. So, what's going on in your world today, sir?
I just got back to Buffalo. I've been on this couch here in 23 days. So um, I was helping out the team with the Phoenix car. I worked on it till last night and got on the road, got a couple hours of sleep, woke up and came right back. So um, left those guys in pretty good shape, I hope, and I'll be flying out to Phoenix here in about a week.
Andy, how did you get here? I mean, initially you bought that speedway car, and was it not just a bucket list thing? You wanted to go and tackle a big racetrack because you could. Now you are elbows deep. How did you get to where you're at right now from where it began?
I wish I wish I could tell you I planned it and I'm a genius and all that, but I just got really lucky again and again and again. Really good sponsorship help from guys like Bill at Automotive Consultants and Todd and Jody at Florida Safety Systems and Bob at Yukon Creek and everyone at Planter Box and everybody that jumped on board here pretty early just to kind of keep us going. And the big, I had Andy Seiss in my corner the whole time, helping me right from the start. And I lucked into a really good crew chief with Mike Dayton right from the start. He told me he was only going to Daytona that first year, and every week he says he's going to quit, but he hasn't quit yet. So we're dragging him along, and he's a huge part of it. But the biggest answer to your question is just that what we were doing there early on caught the attention of a man named Kevin LaPierre, and he envisioned something called Class Motorsports that was going to be bigger and better than anything I could ever do. And I was having my fun and going as far as I could with it, and I wouldn't have been as far as I am now, certainly. But certainly, Andy Seiss and Mike Dayton in those early days just kind of keep everything on track enough to get the attention of someone like Kevin. And Kevin was introduced to me by a good friend, Bruce Bradshaw, and he took a liking to what we were doing, and he saw a lot of potential, and he kept our core group together, and he formed Class Motorsports. And like even when it was still quote unquote ADJ racing the first couple of years, I mean, Kevin was V1 Fiber, Kevin was a Casey Energy, Dax Markets. He was behind the Phillips 66 sponsorship there early on, and a lot of the stuff that you saw even when it was still quote unquote ADJ racing was still Kevin really pushing and making it all possible. So it's 1,000 different things working together. It's my family, it's my Buffalo team, and it just all, I don't know, I'm just blessed. I don't know how else to say it. Couldn't do it again if I tried.
Andy, when you first came on this show a few years back, we started talking about, a lot was made about you being a pizza delivery guy. Are you a full-time racer now? Are you, can you say that's what you do full-time, or do you still have a part-time job and racing on the weekends?
No, I'll show you my phone. I was supposed to work today and I got done with the car too late. So I was getting shifts covered last night at about midnight, and they were yelling at me, "You coming in tomorrow?" And I'm coming in tomorrow. So, no, they're really, really good there about accommodating the absurdity of my schedule. Like, hi, I got to go racing in Daytona. I'll be gone for 23 days, and we make it work. So, they sponsor the race car now. Tom and Kim at Bob and John's La Hacienda up in Buffalo, New York. If you're ever around, check them out. We've done a really good job getting a lot of our Western New York fans over there. We had a couple little events and handing out some coupons and stuff, and we've gotten some new people to Bob and John's. Everyone loves the food, so just more people involved. It's just such a happy situation that I'm in the middle of, and I got so much going for me.
Do the customers get excited if they get their food delivered by famous race car driver Andy J?
Once in a while I get noticed. Most of them just yell at me and, tell me not to park in their driveways, even though it's a driveway, and not to honk the horn when their doorbell doesn't work. And, all the usual stuff, I haven't been there in 23 days. I'll go there tomorrow and everyone will be like, "Wow, Daytona was so cool. That's great. Okay, here, take this." And then, it's just right back to work. So it makes it kind of fun too. 'Cause, I just, they all follow it, they all support it, they all love it. But I just go there and just to work it stiff. So, yeah, I love it. They're really cool about my schedule, and it's a fun job. I work with some of my best friends, and I've been there for 16 years now at the same place. So I've got good relationships with everybody, and everyone's just excited for what's going on for me, and then it's right back to work. So it's a good deal.
Andy, let's talk about your Daytona run. So I was in Daytona that night. I watched it. To me, it looked like you got involved in an early jingle. Not too bad. Obviously, I thought the car was hurt because you ran around the back for a while there. But the end, man, you were in it. We'll look at a couple pictures of your Daytona car, but take us through your Daytona night, and then we'll get to the going viral line you put out that has now spurred a bunch of T-shirts and that. But before we get to that, let's talk about just in general how your Daytona night went from the driver's seat.
Yeah, so we tested really good. We were drafting with the Gibbs team in testing and in the race, and we never had a huge group, so we didn't have the crazy speed that some of the other groups had. But we knew what we had. We knew we had a good car, and when it came time to qualify, when we went out on the track and the thing shut off, it started spitting and sputtering and shutting on and off, and I lost. We had an electrical issue, and I lost the pack, and I was able to it started back up on the backstretch, but I had lost the pack. So normally in qualifying you draft, so doing it by yourself, you're at a disadvantage. And there was one slow car I was able to suck up on, so I had a little bit of a tow for about half the lap, and I got one lap in and good enough for 34th, the last spot in the field. So it was kind of a miracle that we made the race. Shane Van Ginsberger was one spot behind me, and they had to pay something like $50,000 to get someone to back out of the show. I heard 100, I heard 50. It wasn't a small chunk of change. So, if that was us, I don't know that I don't know what would have happened there. So we got a little lucky just to get in the show. We had to fix it, so we had to drop to the back, and I was just thinking in my head, like, all right, shotgun, midnight at Daytona, what else you live? I mean, that is it, man. That is the moment. And even on they went to go white, and I was laying back. They told me to go tail, and I laid back, and I gave the field a little gap, and I'm looking up at the stands, I'm looking up at the field, and it's 11 o'clock at night at Daytona, and there's 40 cars in front of me, and I'm just like, this is my moment, man. This is so cool. This is so cool for Class Motorsports and everybody. And I got back to Shane, and we were flying up to the field, and we got, we had me somewhere in the 20s, and I could see the pack was getting a little wild, and I hadn't been in that situation before with super speedway racing, and I didn't have enough experience to key the mic fast enough to kind of let TJ know I think we should get out of this. And we ended up the wreck happened right in front of us, and I was hands on the wheel. I was steering all the way through it. I bounced this way, bounced off a couple guys. My goal was just to keep the thing straight, not that wreck. My goal was just to keep the thing straight, and did. And most of the damage was just from a left side flat. We just drug the left side off. So, but they had to get the porta power out. We lost the lap, but we fixed it. We got the lap back, and I could tell we still had a lot of speed in the car. I didn't think we were gonna be able to lead a pack like we were, because we had lost so much of the left front corner of the car. But it was still acting really good in the air. So. We made passes. We got back somewhat from midfield, and my crew chief made an awesome call to short pit. Figured we could make it on fuel, so we pitted with the first group. So once the second group pitted, we came out like fourth or fifth, and then it was, just kind of buying our time. We knew the teammates were up front, so when that 20 car or the Venturini cars, when they get out front, there's not faster air than that. So I knew it was going to be really hard to past them, and we were kind of hanging around that fourth place spot for most of the race. And kind of what I figured was, if we could stay in it till the end, I didn't think we had enough steam to get up and pass them, but I had a feeling they would get to racing, and we might be able to capitalize on something. And we got to that last restart, and the plan was for the Venturini cars the bottom car was supposed to let the top car in. And I had a feeling that, something just didn't seem like someone was going to give the lead up on the last lap at Daytona. So I was skeptical, but they did put the leader in front of me. So I laid back on the start to try to get a run and start at it, because my thought was, okay, if we are going to lead the outside, they're going to have to slow down on the bottom. So I figured as much momentum as I could carry, you know, I don't know if I was going to get there or not, but, you know, there's no cars in front of you. What do? You go as fast as you can, right? So we went green, and when the 20 didn't drop in, the kind of effect of it was, because I laid back, there was this gap between myself and the 62 behind me, where the 62 could push me up to the 20, but I would lose the 62 because of that gap. So what happened on the backstretch was the 62 came at me with a pretty big head of steam, and he got me in the back. And, you know, that's you gotta be bump drafting to have any kind of chance. And my goal was to get the 20 back into a race with the 55, and because that was my best shot to win, because those two got racing, and maybe they start beating and banging, and I'm there to capitalize. So when I started getting bump drafted, you know, I got the 62 behind me, so you can't let off. And if you look right there, the 20 is going to go for a side draft off the 6, and that's right when I get to him. And it's an unfortunate deal, but I think he had his wheel turned a little bit just when I got to him, and then the bottom lane comes up and wrecks us anyway. So I don't know that it kind of mattered what we were going to do. I think the Cole Trickle was down there on the apron or something, making something crazy happen. So we were probably wrecked no matter what we did, but you know, it's super speedway racing.
I want to ask you, because when you're in that position, you got Venturini cars in front of you. Do you know who's driving these cars? Do you have an idea? So are you planning your move, or are you planning who you would rather work with to get to the end?
I knew that the Venturini cars are the strongest cars there. I knew you're not going to pull out and pass the Venturini cars. So my strategy in my head was, I needed them to race each other and either start banging and bumping or rubbing, or something needed to happen. I mean, I wasn't going to pull out and pass two of them. I knew that. So when we were going down the back straightaway, I mean, my goal was to help my line. So if I get my line ahead of their line and they start racing, then I'm looking for, okay, do they make contact, and does that slow them down enough where I can make my move? Or, you know, my goal was to get the car in front of me racing for the lead, because if something were to happen, then I'm there to capitalize. And with that much time left in the race, we talked about going outside 3 wide going into 3, you know, on that caution, and it just, no one thought that was going to work. So that was the only really other racing move I think I could have did, was when I had that run down the back straightaway, was try to move out and try to pass the 20. But it's a tough deal, because when you're doing that stuff to make it work, you got to be side drafting, and the cardinal rule is you're not supposed to side draft when you're bump drafting. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think a lot of us probably don't have a ton of experience doing that stuff. But you see, right, he's going down for a side draft, and that's right when I get him. And I think with him having the wheel turned a little bit, and then I made contact, it just turned him into the right rear of the 2, and that shot him back up the track. And then, like I say, it's nothing intentional. It's hard racing. It's going for it in the last lap at Daytona, and it's a lot of craziness, and it's unfortunate, but it's super speedway racing.
No explanation.
Man. I don't know what else to say. It sucks.
No explanation,
you know?
required, Andy. Right?
No, I hate seeing stuff get tore up like that, and you know, it would have been nice just for us to come around and then race it out, and you know, maybe we come up short, maybe we don't, but it sucks the way it went down. I hate it, but you know, like I say, those was 1 lap dashes. They're pretty intense. I looking back at it, it would almost be nicer if we had like a green white checkered instead of a green checker situation, just because, you know, with 1 lap, I mean, there's just, you got to go, right? You're in your head. I mean, listen to my interview, you know, you just think like, okay, like nothing, all the cards on the table, we got to go. You know, next caution ends this race. So I think in a 2 lap situation, if you kind of get situated a little bit, I think there's a better chance that, stuff like that maybe doesn't happen next time. So, a one lap dash is kind of a pressure cooker situation for, I mean, think about everybody that had a chance to win that race. I mean, for me, that'd be, career changing. For Class Motorsports, that's organizational change. I mean, we look at everything that happened with the 35 car win in that race last year. I mean, you could be a truck team in a year if you win that race. So everybody is thinking about, the possibilities of winning that race at that point, and you're gonna lay your cards out on the table, and that's, it would be nicer if we had a situation maybe with 2 laps where, maybe things get shuffled. You get a minute to think about it. You can make more than one move, and then maybe, you're not dead set on that last second deal where we're all just. I mean, there was some wild bump drafting going on in that back straightaway there, and it's not stuff that we're used to. So, it's sort of a recipe for disaster, and maybe we need rules to kind of protect us from ourselves sometimes, and we'll see what happens going forward.
Andy, let's talk about the quote. Do we have the quote, Spencer? If we do, roll it. So maybe you can tell us.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor, and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
So tell us about that moment, and we'll show some of the T-shirts that have been spurred since it. What's that like, Andy, when a moment in the heat of the battle goes viral?
It's sort of, I was getting myself pumped up for the biggest moment of my life, and I mean, it was teammates on the front row, so whatever deal they're making isn't including us, so you kind of know that. There's not really enough time to get anything else organized. Those are our T-shirts. We're selling them online. You can go to Andy J Racing or classmotorsports.com, and we got the Shopify link on both, so check it out. Everything goes towards team. That's our buddy Tom Pecto. Got a little gray going these days. So I don't know. I got home back to the hotel, and I was just miserable about the whole deal, and I forgot it even happened, to be honest. And I went on Facebook, and I was right before I went to bed, because your mind's racing after something like that. You think, you get out of the infield care center, and you think, what could I do different? Could I have made this move? Could I have done that? And just your mind's racing after something like that, and I hate the way it went. And I go on Facebook, and I see that, and I kind of cringed at first, right? And I'm just like, oh man, I hope that doesn't get shared around too much, You notice it, I never shared it at ADJ Racing, because I heard it, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not sure I wanted the spotlight at that exact moment. But I think a lot of times, and I think maybe the reason it is kind of been a little popular the way that it was is usually in a situation like that, like I love my sponsors, and I have to promote myself and in Class Motorsports, I have to promote all of us to help us get sponsors so we can, afford to go do all this. So usually when I have a TV camera in front of me, I have my PR hat on a little bit, and I'm thinking, and I'm trying to be well thought out and say the right things. And I'm trying to think like, okay, like here's a hot, and that's why you hear these interviews, right? The kids kind of sound like robots, right? Because you're always thinking like, okay, what's good for my sponsors? What's good for everybody? And I think in that moment, that was such an important moment to me as a driver, and such an important moment for my team in Class Motorsports, that I just didn't. It was like PR hat, and it was the furthest thing from my mind. Like everything that we've done, everything I've done as a driver, everything we've done as a team for the last 20 years of my career and everything, you kill for that moment to be in a one lap dash at Daytona. And I was just, that's where my mind was. And it was.
At least you didn't say something ridiculous. Like that was profound. It was a little ridiculous, but it was awesome.
I think people love it just because it was sort of honest, and even like Bill
Exactly.
Venturini, like I love Bill Venturini. Bill Venturini is so good to me. Like he's a good dude. And they asked me about Bill Venturini, and I'm just like, yeah, Bill Venturini's not my friend right now. He's not trying to figure out how to help me win this race, and I hope he's not offended by it, but that was just the honest truth. Like the teammates are up front. We knew whatever deal they were making, we weren't in on it. And, we were just there to give it our best shot. So that was super speedway racing in a nutshell. And I guess that's what I look like right before a one lap dash for the most important race of my life. And um, apparently that's where my brain was. I've never said that before in my life. I've heard the expression "I'm not left until I see God." So I've never said it in that way before. It was just I opened my mouth and that's what came out. And then it was okay. I gotta go back to talking to TJ here. We got to win this race. So I don't know.
Right
I guess it's kind of cool. One guy messaged me. He's getting a tattooed on him. He wanted my signature. So it's been interesting. It's selling a lot of shirts, so that's pretty cool. And I think it's something that is probably going to be sort of attached to me for a long, long time in class motorsports. And I think there's, I think it's kind of cool. It's something, we are all in, as race car drivers, you get up every day hoping to be in that situation in some point in your life. I mean, you live for that, and that's where I was. And I think a lot of racers that are chasing the same dreams that I am kind of can identify with that. And I think that's where the popularity comes from. And, it took me a couple days, but it's pretty cool,
Right on, Andy. We appreciate your time tonight. On behalf of me, I just want to say you got a lot of Canadian fans up here rooting you on. Adam, anything you want to say before we cut them loose?
No, man. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for being you, apologetically you, Andy. I mean, that's what's building your fan base, man. And good for you.
I appreciate you guys. I love coming on, and hopefully we'll get up there and race with you guys a little bit. I love Full Throttle Motor Speedway. I've been there 4 times and I've won 3, so that's my favorite one. So hopefully we'll get back up there at some point.
There you go.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks.
AJ Kowiak, fan favorite up here, and just one hell of an old school racer. Not afraid to get dirty, weld it up, do whatever it takes, and good to see him make it up to the top. We'll bring in Mark Rinaldi now as soon as we're ready, because Mark's been patiently waiting. Mark, thanks for joining us here. We had our rules meeting at our weekend last night. So the not real big news, but the standard news out of there is we're on the same package through 2026. No major change for mini stocks or thunder stocks here in Ontario, which is another good thing. How are things at Brighton?
Yeah, things are good here at Brighton, Clint, and we've been sort of towing the same line. You get the odd person asking, "Hey, can we change this? Hey, can we change that?" But me and you and Don and Humberstone have all stayed on point, saying that we committed to this for 3 years. If there's something that we think we need to adjust in order to just to for safety or if something's getting out of control, then we'll adjust it. But the plan is to keep the rules the same, and I've done that across all our classes as well.
Mark, what's on your mind tonight? We heard you reaching out, messaging. There's got to be something brewing under that hat.
No, actually, Clint texted me on Sunday. I'm assuming it's about rules, and I never got back. I promised him I'd call him back, and I'm usually pretty good at calling back, but I didn't Sunday. And then Nathan told me about the news about your $20,000 win Thunderstock race today, so he was pretty pumped about that. Now he's out looking for a Thunderstock to race in September. But so I was just calling Clint or texting Clint to see what the plan was. But yeah, nothing major. We're getting ready with our schedule, and my boys are working on the race shop trying to get the cars ready, and just gearing up for the year. We were down in Florida for Speed Weeks and had a good time, watched some good races, and talked to a lot of people. And so now we're back at it full speed and getting geared up.
Mark, we reached out to Justin Ramsey to try and get him on. He was busy working tonight to just see what it meant. The Thunderstocks have been a division you've bought into. I mean, you and Merrittville with the Bicknells back in the day are probably the good, reason why we are where we are today with it. You guys started combining rules and playing together, mixing the drivers back from the duel on the dirt start, which was Merrittville Brighton. Now we've all earned our way into this deal, but it's been great. I mean, when we look at car counts and can we do a big event like that, and it was Greg Kalman's idea, really, like him and I got talking about I was going to do a run with you brung like you do at Cornwall. He's like, "No, man, we need a Thunderstock Nationals." And right away, I'm like, brilliant. I said, "You make the logo, I'll blame it on you." And 5 minutes later, I had a logo, and I'm like, "Well, I couldn't wait to get it out." We announced it right away, We'll figure that out. Everyone's like, hey, thanks for all the work. And I'm like, we didn't do any work. We just had an idea, and now the work starts to figure out how we're going to find $20,000 to pay for it. But I think the Thunderstocks deserve it. Mark, the Duel on the Dirt series, I think it was 2 years ago, we had like over 80 drivers on this package. So I don't see why we aren't going to have 50-plus cars at that race.
Yeah, I think you'll have a huge field. Like as you know, Thunderstocks are our biggest regular Saturday night class here at Brighton. And I mean, I would go back to the days when, me and Nancy Bicknell actually started the Duel on the Dirt. We were kind of struggling with Thunderstocks back then and looking at ways to try and save the class. So that's when we started working at trying to make it a bit of giving the guys an option to travel and giving the guys an option to get around it. And now, that's one of the reasons why it is the biggest class here at Brighton is because guys can go race anywhere in Ontario. The nice thing is all the tracks to the west, the rules match up perfectly. The tracks to the east, the rules are a little bit different, but Brighton guys go down there and they race against some of the French guys there in Cornwall. And I think just the competition and the Duel on the Dirt between the west drivers and the east drivers is so tight, it makes everybody that much better that, we go race against Quebec drivers. And the only rules at Cornwall is 8-inch wheel and a 2-barrel carburetor. So you can imagine some of these French guys come out with some pretty crazy motors and stuff like that. Yeah, our guys go down there and they're right there every race, and usually fighting for the win. So I believe that we've built, between you guys and us and Merrittville and even the guys from Southern Ontario, Motor Speedway, we've got the competition between all the tracks, getting the guys out, moving to other tracks, has created, probably some of the best street stock drivers in North America.
Well, and Mark, I think it's a testament or proof of that is the fact that we know the drivers. We know the hot shoes from every track, whether it's Dave Bailey or Ryan Beagle or whether it's Justin Ramsey. Like people from your track come to our track. There's not one hotbed where all the fast cars come from. There's fast cars that run Humberstone, Merrittville, your place, Ohsweken. And Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, Steve Shaw can mix it up with the best of anybody, right? And I think he's coming on here shortly. So, but it's, I would say in the early days, that was back in the days when Doug Anderson and Ronnie Wadforth dominated here at Brighton and nobody could touch them, right? Well, then we got started racing with the Merrittville guys, and well, now you had Tyler McPherson and Cody McPherson and Rob Murray and them. They were coming down here and spanking Doug Anderson, and it just made everybody else work that much harder. And now we've got so many guys that worked so hard and have basically turned this Thunderstock class into, for lack of better words, it's as serious racing as 360s and some of the other classes, right? So these guys, they take it seriously. Doug Anderson takes it as seriously as anybody. Ramsey, Rob Murray, these guys, they spend most of the nights in the shop. We got, for lack of better words, professional car builders, and it's turned into quite the class. And still lots of interest and lots of new kids getting into it every year. We got some new rookies that are some of them under 20 years old moving up from the mini stock division, and I know you guys had some guys move up from the mini stock division last year. So it's a class to be proud of for sure.
Yeah, when we got young kids like Travis Whittle shared between, Southern Ontario Motor Speedway, Ohsweken, at 17 years old, these kids are getting it done and learning from the best. Like you said, if you're going to race guys like Justin Ramsey and Purchase and those guys down at your place for the last few years, man, it's going to be tight racing. Mark, let's talk a bit about some other classes going on. Of course, you got a variety of classes at Brighton, but let's talk about, first off, the sprint car weekend on Labor Day, how that's going to continue to be. You're still going to have a big presence with the 360s like you have in the past few years, and also the late model tour for the Crate Late Models in the Northeast Late Model Alliance. What's happening there? Give us a couple Cole's notes on those, and then we'll cut you loose.
Yeah, so Labor Day, it's a big, Clint, we've talked about it. It's almost probably the second biggest sprint car weekend in Canada, next to the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals with, last couple of years, we've had well over 50 cars between the two classes. And this year it's cool. I believe it's $2,000 to win for crates both nights, and we got a $1,000 bonus if somebody can win both nights. And then The 360, same thing, $2,500 to win both nights and $1,000 bonus if somebody can win both nights. And we've set it up with you that we'll have each winner on both nights will also be guaranteed starters for the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals. So good bonuses for the drivers to come out, and we had great attendance last year when we started this thing on our own, and it's really worked out well. So looking forward to that. The Northeast Late Model Alliance is gaining a lot of momentum. We got 2 new tracks on the schedule this year with Can-Am and Ransonville, and at least 2 or 3 new cars that we know of, including a couple of Americans that have shown intention of following the whole series. So it's looking positive, and yeah, I would say all in all, things are still trend, and we got to just keep working hard and keep moving forward, and working with the other tracks is a big part of that, right? Like I work with all the tracks across Ontario, and then now starting to work with Can-Am and Ransomville. It's building relationships and keeping things going.
Mark, have you noticed the swing over the last, let's say probably 10, 15 years, your whole time involved, where it seems to me it used to be you really had to stretch your neck out for people to acknowledge Brighton Speedway and include you. Now you're almost a focal point. For one, your location is pretty convenient as you grow the circle larger. But for it is like if you're coming from Can-Am, if you're coming from Ransville, meeting in the middle. But you just seem to do things right. Like you're a pretty good politician. I know where you get it from. But have you seen that difference?
Yeah, I think so, Adam. And a lot of that just what it comes from working with the other tracks and, trying to, Clint's been there when tracks haven't been getting along, and, I sort of step in and try to help get things going back in the right direction, so I'm a firm believer of if we're all working together, we're all going in the same direction, then things will be stronger. We are in a good location. I mean, you guys have seen the growth of our Applefest weekend, what a great weekend that's turned out to be, just because we're right central to the Can-Am, Cornwall, Brockville side of things, and then on the other side, you got the Merrittville, Ransonville drivers that come to that. So being in the center certainly helps, but also just trying to work with all the other tracks as much as possible, and then like Clint said, our drivers are getting out and racing at other tracks, so that also builds recognition for Brighton Speedway. So we just keep doing our thing and keep chugging along and moving in the right direction. So,
right on, Mark. Thanks for your time tonight. We appreciate it, and keep us posted. Anything we need to know. We always like talking to you.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
And good job with whatever you did with the internet down there. That was the cleanest interview we've ever had from Brighton, Ontario.
I saw what you did there, Adam, because our very first video production we did was from Brighton Speedway. And you said, the perfect place in the middle of nowhere, and Angie has never let you live that down. And now you're like, you're never. Such a centrally located hot spot. I'm thinking,
it is now.
Look at you.
Because then we were coming from the horseshoe, right? You're coming from the Niagara area. It's like, my God, does this drive ever end? But now they're coming from Brockville, they're coming from Cornwall, they're coming from Can-Am, we're coming from Merrittville, Ohsweken. Now it's the center point. So it's amazing. It's just a little bit of a spin on it, It all works out.
My favorite Brighton story was, I think it was maybe 5 years ago, Ange and Mark hired you, Greg, and myself to split the announcing duties. So we all took a shift. We did about, 5 races each of us. And we had a schedule. And I remember sitting out back, and I looked down, and I'm like, who's announcing at Brighton today? And it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's me! Get in the car! And we had to fly down the 401. Like the Camaro was just sailing down there. It wasn't even touching the ground. I wheel in, right in time for hot laps. I roll in. Mark's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, man. I'm good. Everything's cool. Perfect. But that would have been a shitty night had Mark called me at 6 o'clock and been like, "Hey, when are you getting here tonight?" But so
Dave Bradley.
We did it.
Dave Bradley was on that roster as well.
Yes, craziness.
But
it was good times.
Like that.
Let's go
it
as far as we can to the other end of the 401 and talk to the Merlin magician, Mr. Steve Shaw Sr. Steve, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. Welcome to the program.
Thanks.
We're going to call you the elder statesman of street stock Thunderstocks from the West. So how are things going down there?
Going pretty good. Yeah, loving the weather, getting lots of work done.
Adam, I'm just going to steal the first part of this before we get into too much because I want to set this up. So, Spencer, roll those pictures I sent you of the Thunderstock. So, Steve's got his brand new Thunderstock number 96, which is looking good. And I saw another car. No, not that one. We're going to talk about those ones. And Mark's still on the line. Get that off. Mark's going to kill me. Okay, the red one there. Yes, this Jaden Miller car. Gorgeous, Steve. I messaged, is this one of your builds? I mean, the Thunderstocks look so good. Flip a couple of those other pictures, Spence. And, man, it just looks so good. Steve, you do some great work building these cars. You know, you're kind of the go-to guy and the builder in the West for these teams that are looking to get started. You know, how is the build season going for you? How many cars have you built? And, you know, what's the hot story on the builder side of things?
Did 3 this winter, a little less than last year. But did a couple bodies. But it worked out pretty good because we've got a chance to finally build our own new car.
Tell us about this car that you built for Jaden Miller.
Yeah, that's one I did last year. That was a complete car, so and turned out pretty good for him.
Right on, looks beautiful. Go ahead, Adam.
No, Steve, what's the rumor down your end? Is anyone making offers on that racetrack? Has there been any conversation down there that Southern Ontario Motor Speedway may live?
It might be a go. I was talking to Henry last week, and he's talking with a couple of different people.
Obviously, you're not an official spokesperson. You're a racer in the hood, so we're not going to hold you to too much, Steve. And we don't want to get you in no trouble, but yeah, anything you know would be great to know. Obviously, we don't want to lose the place.
Well, I do know a little bit, and I really can't say anything. I don't want to mention any names or anything like that, or they'll just stop giving me information.
Oh, of course.
But there is light at the end of there is light at the end of the tunnel, though.
So we do have hope, and can you confirm that Henry is at least open to other options than someone buying the place outright? Is there a lease or a rental type option in play? Can you at least tell us that?
You can lease it, but you better have your own equipment because he's not going to let the equipment go with it and have it get broken. Then he's got to fix it. So you can lease it, but you got to have your own equipment.
Fair enough. It's more news than we've had and more hope than we've had.
Yeah, it's better than selling to somebody who's going to tear it down and use it for waste.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So, barring that, Steve, what do you look forward to? So let's say you don't have a home track, because that is your home track. What do you look forward to when you're looking at schedules these days? How exciting is it that you can pick from any one of 6 racetracks and know that you can go down there and be legal and competitive?
Well, that's the joy of having one of these cars, and that's one reason why I went to it back in 2016, is because you can go anywhere. I mean, obviously, Plan A this year was for Junior to run Buxton, and I was going to run all the specials like Humberstone or the big races at Oswego, and then we've got the Pro Late Model too that we want to run at Delaware on the odd night. So right now it's Plan B, and it's Junior's going to be running Oswego full time, and I'll be running Merrittville and Humberstone.
When you look at how things have gone there, it's been so good to get everybody on the same package. I think during the pandemic, we saw it more than ever to have these cars to be able to float around. And, the cars from the West they're competitive. You guys can bring your game down here and run just as good with the Merrittville guys.
Yeah, there's a handful of guys that are right up there. I mean, I kind of had my way with them in the past couple of years, but last year and the year before, I mean, guys like Jake Hooker stepped up. They won some races. The Whitall kid, I mean, I think he'll have a breakthrough year this year.
You know what? I think that's a good call. Just watching them, how they conducted themselves last year and you see those improvements over the course of a year, I could really see that being the case. How many people, Steve, you can't possibly answer this question, but how many people have you watched come and go in street stock style racing who started off just like Travis Whittle, didn't know what was what, learned their craft, got better, got really good to where they could contend with you, maybe beat you a time or two, and then moved on. I mean, you've been around this sport a little while to see some talent come and go.
Yeah, it's and then they go broke when they move up.
Steve, talk a little bit about running Delaware. We have a bit of an association with Delaware through our APC affiliation and, our relationship with Luke Ramsey, Alex Nagy, Gibber, all the guys that run the deal down there. It's been great to see Delaware have a resurgence in the West as well. Tell us a bit about your experience with Delaware.
It's a lot of money, and we don't have the money to run with the Steckleys or even the Mornos. They do amazing for with the program they have with their car and stuff like that. We weren't actually thinking of running in the Pro Late model class. They've got the V8 class where you can run anything. So we've got that new Blue Seal motor sitting here just collecting dust. So we were just going to take it down there the odd Friday night and take turns and maybe put Todd in it one night or my youngest son, Robert, or whatever, and just try to have some fun with it.
Fun is what it's supposed to be about. Can you have that kind of fun? Like when you are showing up to a gunfight with a bit of a knife, can you still have good fun?
I always look for the positive out of the night. If you went quicker than you went last week, or you didn't break anything on the car and you're driving on the trailer, I'm more of a positive thinker that way. Like that's just how I am. If I can run better than I ran last week, I'm happy with that.
Right on, Steve. We appreciate you stopping by. It's great to hear that there's some hope down in the West. There's such a great fan base down there, a great bunch of drivers who are dying to have a home track. It is a bit out of the way for you guys to have to come east to race with us. So, and losing a track is never good. So hopefully things turn out for everybody down in the Chatham area with Buxton and Southern Ontario Motor Speedway.
I feel bad for the other three classes. I know there's probably 10 guys that you're probably going to see show up Friday nights at Ush Weekend. The other guys might show up once in a while, but a good 10 cars will be there every week.
You know what? Nobody wants to see. We want to see 10 cars show up, but nobody wants to see a bunch of racers with a lot of equipment down there. I mean, there are passionate racers down in southwestern Ontario, so we hope things get situated. Everyone gets a place to race. If not, we're happy to house them at Oshwegan or at any of the other specials going on. But you guys deserve a facility down there to play on.
Yeah, it's a little closer to home for me and leaves a little money in the bank instead of using it all to tow somewhere. But at the same time, we go anywhere we expect to win, and the purse money usually helps out a bit.
Thanks, Steve. We'll let you go. I'm going to give you a bit of advice that you probably don't need. Build cars, don't race cars. You probably make better money doing it. So.
Well, that's why Junior's in it and not me.
Thanks, Steve. We'll be in touch.
All
Steve
right,
Shaw
thanks.
Sr., the elder statesman of Thunderstocks in the West, if we can call it that. Pretty good show so far, Adam. Some good chat. Good to talk to Andy J. and Steve Shaw Sr. Before we get too much further, I want to mention Racing America does have a deal out for APC. We'll be live producing all those events live on APC throughout the entire 2024 season. Make sure you join us on racingamerica.com. Check it out. They've got some great deals here for us in Canada. Not sure if you got that handy, Spencer. If not, no sweat. Show it when you do. We showed it last week. I should have it right on my handy code, but I don't here. Switching gears, how about Celebration Life for Pete Shepard? Adam, we want to mention that and get that out. That's coming up March 24th.
And that's going to be at the Dundas Legion, Dundas, Ontario, Pete Shepard Sr. Head on out for that. What a great race fan. What a great racer. Always a character at the races, and thought I'd share that. Got that from his daughter, Susie. And if anyone wants to pay their respects, enjoy that celebration, they should head on out.
You know, he was a regular at the Speedway Park alumni dinners, breakfasts there they had in Hamilton. So I'm sure a lot of the old timers will be out there. It'll be a great bullshit session. If you know the Shepherds, there'll be a lot of great bench racing going on around there, and a lot of stories. Let's just say. So we wish the best to Shepherd family as well. I saw Pete the second and the third at Daytona. Got to say hi to them as they were in the fan zone with Luke.
Pete the third, he's living his best life right now. They take some fantastic vacations. I love following their social media, so looks to be having a great time.
How about that Atlanta finish? Let's look at a couple quick pictures of that. What a show. You know, Adam, it's funny. So I'm coming home from the meetings, and I see Facebook. Everybody is shit-talking NASCAR. Oh, this garbage, blah, blah, blah. 30 minutes later, the feed is totally flipped, and everybody's talking about how great that finish was. You know, show a couple pictures, Spencer. The Cars one, too, if you got. I thought it was cute. But, you know, what a finish. Suarez winning. Here, we actually got the finish. Good job, Spencer. I'm impressed. 3 wide coming to line. What a call.
And what a great job by these drivers, you know, staying off each other.
Yeah. And not wrecking each other for the win. It'd be so easy to just touch the other guy and go on to win, but you'd wreck everybody behind you. Atlanta, since the whatever you want to call it, reconfig, has been amazing. The racing there. This was a good one. You know, cars telling the future here. That's a great representation of what Sunday could have been.
Mm-hmm. So, do I do it, Clinton, or we just move on?
I don't know what you're going to do, so I'll bite. Do it.
If there's no start-finish line, Spencer, show that final lap again. Pretend there's no start-finish line. Just pretend. So when we watch this video, Spencer's going to show. Look at, let's watch. This is awesome. They're 3 wide. They're coming around the corner. Off of turn number 4, they're neck and neck. Oh my God, who's going to win? They come down to I don't know. There's still just 3 cars side by side racing around a circle. Without the goddamn line, you don't have a winner. And it's so simple. They show you the image to show you the freaking winner. Without it, it doesn't happen.
I still say transponders where it's at.
Right, but it's like a football game without a line. Like, there has to be a line to get to the end zone. You have to touch home plate to get home. No, I'm just watching and I'm thinking it just dawned on me. How ridiculous would that visual be without a start-finish line? Thank you, Spencer. A perfectly placed camera on the line, knowing where the transponder was. They wouldn't put the line there unless they knew the measurement of the transponder lined up to that line on the track. So when the transponder said Daniel Suarez was ahead by 2 1,000ths of a second, the corresponding picture at the line tells the same story.
Thank you, ass munch. That's what I've been trying to tell you for 2 freaking years now. We have different classes, and the transponders in different locations. So if we race one class, we could do it. We race different classes, so we can't do it.
You still need the line is the important part. The line makes people think they haven't been robbed of a show. That's what makes people feel warm and fuzzy. We've had transponders
at 1,000 tracks in North America for 20 years. And I don't see fans ever going home and feel they got robbed because they had to look at the score.
Sure they did. Humberstone Speedway, when you put 2 drivers in victory lane because it was a tie. Horseshit.
So at what point,
when the World of Outlaws going to do it? Will the World of Outlaws do it? Will they declare a tie and put 2 winners in victory lane?
I'm telling you, you're headed for a shitstorm with this.
Their officials wouldn't have the balls.
I don't have the balls because it's a stupid plan. here's the thing. Okay, I'll give it to you this, Adam. What do we do then when the photo is identical and we can't determine which car's ahead in the photo? When I give you your photo and
now you've got a tie. Now you've got a tie.
You just said we can't have a tie, Dick.
If the transponder says tie and the picture says tie, you got a tie.
Hold on.
If the transponder says tie and you didn't go to the effort to have a visual, that you have robbed your fans. It's like having a Super Bowl without referees. We'll just play with the honor system.
The transponder says it's a tie, and you go to the photo, and one guy has his nose out an inch more than the other, and he steals the win because of that.
He wins bogus. If his car passes tech. No,
so why don't we just make a bigger nose? See, I will give you what you're saying. If we have laser templates for our street stocks, sure, it'll work. But
on dirt, you don't need to worry about it, because on dirt they're never crossing the line quite straight anyhow.
This whole argument is about transponders and dirt, you ass. This whole argument is about Oshwegan and dirt, and now you just said, "Come on, Spencer, turn on your freaking mic and back me up here, bro."
No.
This whole thing started from Oshwegan. It all started from Oshwegan.
NASCAR in Atlanta makes it easy because they're 3 cars crossing a straight line in a straight trajectory. Dirt, they're going to be a little bit crooked. So the transponders don't tell the accurate story on dirt the way they do on pavement if they're all going straight. You need that line. There should be a laser line. I'm going to keep citing examples every time they come up to my argument, because we're never going to finish this argument because you're never going to see it my way. But that's okay. I'm okay with it.
At what interval do we drop the transponder and say, okay, we're forgetting the science, and now we're going to go to Adam's naked eye call of this finish?
I don't care. If you don't want to get it right, don't get it right. But I'm still going to argue that it should be right.
The computer gets it right.
The finish line. No, it doesn't. I can explain it a million times. That's right. Richard's right. It's a light beam. Put a laser light across it. Done. Simple. The technology is there. The effort is not.
No, because you either have to go one or the other way. You have to go either one or the other. You can't choose when you want to use science and when you want to use judgment. You have to use. You need a hard and fast rule.
If a car is spinning across the line, that'd be a disaster. Because who do you score? What do you score? The transponder with one car sideways, one car pointed forward? It becomes tricky. So if one car is going straight, and say the transponder is 50 inches from the front bumper on the left-hand side of the car, going straight.
I'd have to refer to Doug Leonard, but I think we are going off the transponders 100%.
Of course Doug is. Because Doug is in the same boat as you are. You and Doug are paddling the same boat.
Whether you slide across backwards, sideways, whatever, the transponder rules the day in our world. So if you can drive your car successfully backwards across the line and still win that race and get the 3-foot advantage, all on you, bud. You know, I'm open to keep I'm gonna think about that.
I'm gonna put my transponder on a fishing pole. If I'm coming out of 4 and it's close, I get halfway there. I'm firing the fishing line. That transponder's gonna get there a hell of a lot quicker than my car.
As long as you can bolt it back in place when you get to the scales, right? 30 seconds later, you get away with that.
And we didn't plan this. This was spontaneous. This was a spontaneous argument. But when I watched that, I will point it out because it's still one of my favorite debates that we've had. And I understand how much easier it is to go by transponders. I just don't believe it's right.
I don't think you're right either. So there, we're even. No, good debate. We'll continue it next week. Motorama's coming fast. We can talk about Joey Logano's gloves next week. Got a $10,000 fine. And,
no, let's talk about it now.
Let's talk about it, qualifying, which I think was the fair call.
So I don't understand. If Joey Logano had those gloves SFI approved, could they have been disqualified for them? SFI does not have standard for the aerodynamic nature of its gloves.
So what is it? Is it
But
a
as
web
long-
sewn between the thumb and finger? Is that what we're looking at here?
It would appear that way.
You know,
So what they're saying was that's not SFI approved, but trust me, SFI doesn't give two shits if you've got webbed feet and webbed hands. As long as it's all fire resistant, it's still going to meet the approval. In fact, that webbing is a great idea to protect people from breaking their thumbs. You know how we're seeing all the NASCAR drivers pull their hands off the wheel because they wrap their thumbs? That kind of webbing would make it harder to wrap your thumb, so it'd be a lot safer. Obviously, it's serving another purpose aerodynamically, but I think that's free. That to me is exploiting a gray area or a non-area in the rule book. I say hats off.
I don't. I was listening to Dave Moody's show a bit when I was driving kids around today. I think, the point of the story was he got put tail in qualifying, which I think was good. They took his time away. And then there was talk, should there have been more points deducted and should there have been a crew chief suspended? I'm of the deal that I think they handled it right. They took away his time, made him start tail in the race, and he got a $10,000 fine today. No crew chief suspension, no further points deduction. I think that's fair penalty, don't you? And of course, you bring up, if it was SFI approved, would NASCAR? No, but NASCAR jumped all over that as the easy way to slap this one back across the line.
I mean, to me, it's fascinating. NASCAR is brilliant with the way they word their rule book and the way they can enforce their rules because they do cover a lot. They make sure that they can lump things in a certain way to get a penalty out when they want to send a message when they want to send a message that we're not going to accept this. Because you can guarantee that was not front of mind for most people when they wrote a rule book.
Spencer, do you have your microphone on?
Yep.
Put him on the spot. Can they hear you?
Yep.
Can we make a camera that is can slow things down to make Adam shut up?
Probably.
There you go.
Did he get quiet? I didn't quite hear him. I didn't hear that.
He doesn't like the answer either, but he said probably. So here's what I'll give you. My standard racetrack response. I'll look into that, Mr. Ross, and get back to you.
Fair enough. That's all I can ask. I mean, this is a 2-year debate.
Now you're pulling up clips.
Wow.
I know whose side you're on now, Spencer. I know whose side
Spencer
you're on
wants
now.
to know who
I
won.
play both sides.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the wizard does talk when
I
he
love
wants to. All right. I don't love the debate, but we may try something. But, man, I'm going to be cursing you the first time it burns me. They'll be like, Adam!
Well, it still has to be enforced whatever's in the rules. So that would really just be the Adam Ross line. So I can say, hey, I think this one won. It doesn't count. You're not getting paid based on it, but I think this one won.
Wouldn't be any different than anything you do on this Friday anyways. Well, the officials did this, but I think it should have been this.
No,
So-
you know what? On Friday nights, I try not to bring it up. Greg has even tried to bait me into bringing it. Nope. That's a topic for
That's 'cause-
Tuesday. On Friday,
That's because most Saturday mornings we're flying out somewhere at 6 o'clock in the airport. And you don't want to meet me there over at Tim Hortons when I'm still miserable from the night before. So,
you're always
yeah,
miserable.
Adam, I like your idea, Richard. Richard Howders, just make Adam make the call if they tie. You get all the pressure. I love it.
Yep. Actually, I do think if we do that line in that camera, the camera almost has to come from the inside of the track or from under the flag stand. Because it's
For
tough
sure.
with the angle.
It's got to be
coming.
low at the right. Just got a note from Jim Lampman. Also want to mention for the Dickey family, Celebration Life for Ken Dickey this weekend in Brantford. Also, look up Chris or Ashton or any of the other kids, and I'm sure they got all the info there for Celebration Life for Ken Dickey in Brantford, another one of the Ush Weekend regulars who we've lost. Patriarch of the Dickey family. So all the best to them, and our thoughts go out to them as well. I think that's about it, Adam. It's time for chicken wings around here. I'm hungry, so I'm signing out.
Sounds good, man.
Thanks,
Decker
Spencer.
needs to stretch his legs anyhow, so this is all the time I'm allowed.
Fair enough. Hey, Decker. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, Andy J. and Steve Shaw Jr. Also, Mark Ronaldo Sr. I keep saying Jr. Steve Shaw Sr. and Mark Ronaldo, who jumped on with us tonight as well. We appreciate everybody stopping by. I did speak to Matt Weaver. He's going to try and get on with us next week, along with Justin Ramsey. We're two of our guests we talked to possibly get on this week that said next week would be better. So we look for them. Save the chubby unicorns.
That was for
See you
Don
guys.
Martin. He asked. Save the chubby unicorn. See you next time, kids.